Hello. Hello. I hope you all are having a lovely day. I, once again, am live because it's Tuesday. And I like to go live on Tuesdays because I have a lot of lessons on Tuesdays. And so my mind is in vocal coaching a whole lot, and I'm super excited about it on Tuesdays as usual. And so I just wanted to come on and say a couple things today. If you, as usual, are struggling with some vocal things and you want to ask me those questions, that's what today is for. If you have a lot going on and you are feeling like you're not in a mental space that would be conducive to singing, we can talk through that as well. If you have a performance coming up or something, excuse me, and you want a little cheerleading, a little somebody to talk you through all that mental stuff, I'm here for that. So let me know how you're doing. How are we doing today? Excuse me. I was just having a lesson with a student, and we were talking about how how I want everybody to have all these different tools behind them, right? So most of the singers that I see can already match pitch pretty well. They can sing already. It's not like I'm just teaching them from the ground up how to sing. But what usually happens is they come in and they have one way of singing, and they have a default kind of pattern that they have, and these habits that they have learned over time with their voice. Some people, like a guy that I had this morning, he's a super rock guy, and so his default is like all 100% power, pedal to the metal, wah, kind of a rocky stuff, which is awesome because not many people can do that, and so he has that power, but there's a lot of tension underneath it. And so sometimes we just need to find a way to let the power out in a more healthy, sustainable way that doesn't hurt if you were to sing like that for 30 minutes, half an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. And sometimes we have the opposite problem. Sometimes we have a really soft voice and we want the power. Like I had a lady this weekend who felt like that. She just talks very quietly. She just, that's how she usually talks, like this, and doesn't put a lot of power into it. But she wanted to find that power, and so we got her to a different place than she normally was. We got her out of that habit, out of that pattern that she usually does. And that was the goal within that very tiny little lesson that we had that time together. So it's not like I am giving her like 0 to level 5 of like how to sing, because she already had a really lovely voice. Same with my student this morning. Like, he has a power and he can most of the time hold a melody really well. It's just that I want them to feel like they have the freedom to move in and out of that voice and in and out of infinite other tones and feelings and textures in their voice, because that's really where the freedom comes in. So like if you're one of those people that has sung the same way their whole life, and then you try and go sing something else, you feel stuck, because you feel stuck in your little box of what you have done, what you know how to do, and what you're comfortable with. And so you don't feel like you have much freedom with your voice. You feel like you can do this list of songs and that's about it. But that's why people come and do vocal training, so that we can train to step out of that box, to step out of your comfort zone. And the only way you're going to be able to sing different things than what your pattern has been is to be uncomfortable for a little bit. And this is where the rubber meets the road, right? So if you are continuing to sing the same way over and over again, it can really, set, like if you drive on a dirt road 100 times, it's going to set that road as it is, right? It's gonna create some grooves in the ground. And it's then harder to go off that road. You have to like really rev up to turn off that road and onto some random land that doesn't have grooves. Words are not happening today very well for me. And so in order to get out of those grooves, we have to step out of the comfort zone, out of the tried and true path, right? So one of my other students this morning, she's had a whole lot of musical theater and opera training, and she's got a gorgeous voice. But now we're moving into more contemporary musical theater where the sound is more pop. It's more chest voice oriented. It's more just kind of out there and powerful without the vibrato. It's a lot of straight tone. It's a lot of conversational sounding stuff. And her default is to go do it in musical theater vibrato-y, old school kind of a pattern. And that's great because it takes many years to train other people that don't have that to do that. And she's taken many classes in order to be able to do that. But now that's her default, to do what feels like singing feels like to her. Just like all my other students, this is what singing feels like. This is the path. This is the groove that I know to go down when I'm singing. But in order to feel like you have any room to play with your voice, any trust in your voice to do other things than just that one thing, you have to become uncomfortable. Because when you're going outside of those grooved marks, it's going to be weird. There's going to be a whole lot of options, and you're not going to know which way to go. And this is why having a coach in training is important, so that we can ask all the questions together and figure out which way is best for you and which way you want to go as an artist. And that's really what, at the end of the day, it's all about. You are the artist, right? Even if you don't see yourself as an artist, you are an artist because you are creating art with your voice. And so when we find that spot where your comfort zone ends and we start to take little baby steps outside of your comfort zone, it can be very scary and very overwhelming, because if you're not singing it the way you've always sung it, how are you going to sing it, right? There's infinite options. And this is the thing. This is why I want you to be able to find a couple other tools and a couple other textures and tones to play with your voice, so that you can have a smaller list of options, right? Like, of course, when you're first learning and getting your technique down, you don't have all of the options down. Like, there's some things that you just won't be able to do within your range, and just because you haven't practiced that kind of tone. But when we do vocal training, we learn different ways to change up either our breath flow, the shape of our pharynx, the shape of our mouth, what we're doing with our lips and our teeth and our tongue, what we call the articulators. We're learning to go further outside of ourselves for some of us. And for some of us, we're learning how to bring that sound back inside of ourselves. Basically, just all the places that you haven't been going in the past. We're learning how to step out of that rut and to play. And really, that's the way to do it. Like, this is the way, number one, out of your usual comfort zone. Number two, out of your anxiety about what's going to happen if you go out of your comfort zone. And number three, out of the bodily tension that comes up when you go out of your comfort zone. This is really important. So this is why I use play all the time. And I tell my students, like, what would happen if you just played with this? If you just were messy? If you did this section in a cartoon voice? If you became something outside of yourself that doesn't feel like you have to get it right all the time, that doesn't feel so much pressure on your voice and on you as a singer, as a creative being. It doesn't have to be perfect all the time. And so when we get into that play mode, we can start playing with different tones of our voice, right? If my usual tone is kind of chest voicey, like, ah, and I want to expand my range up into my head voice, I want to play with maybe cartoon characters or something. That's usually what I tell people at the beginning, like walk around being Donald Duck for a day, walk around being Mickey Mouse, like walk around being Snow White. That's one of my favorites because it really gets you up here, like, oh, I'm going to do the laundry now. You know, just be stupid. Just act ridiculous and be a different voice so you can find a different voice in yourself that you never play with. And really, this is why I promote people understanding their nervous system as well, because when you get into play mode, you have magically bypassed the nervous system taking over. Usually that happens in fight and fawn mode. When you are attacked per se, usually it's not like actual being attacked, but like your nervous system perceives it as an attack, like you taking a big risk and sharing your voice with somebody that can be perceived biologically as an attack by your nervous system. And so your default mode might be to fight and oversing something, like really push back so you're making sure to get that sound out, and then these muscles really take over. But when you go right to play mode, all that pressure just dissipates, right? You don't have to oversing anymore. You don't have to really fight to get that sound out because you're just being a cartoon character and you're being silly and stupid. And that's how that's my favorite way to get people out of their comfort zone, because there's no pressure, right? If I told somebody who is used to singing in their chest, like super smooth, warm, jazzy kind of a sound, if I wanted to get them into their head voice and I told them, sing this opera song, they'd be like, I have no idea how to sing that opera song. I don't know how to get into that voice. I don't know how to do it. But if I told them, imitate an opera singer, what's a caricature of an opera singer? They go, oh, which is, they think it's a joke, but it's a real thing. That's the real voice. That's the real head register, right? Everybody can do this usually. It's just that we don't think it's a real thing. But any way you use your voice is real, and it's a part of you, and it's a part of your voice and a part of your training. So if you are feeling stuck in a rut and are worried that you don't feel the freedom that you want, highly recommend singing whatever cartoon character comes to mind. Like, sing the song that you've been working on as somebody else, right? It can be a famous person, a cartoon character. It can be the character of an opera singer. It can be, pretend you're a cowboy and you have a different accent. Just get out of the mode that tells you need to be perfect and exact and get it right every time. Because then you're going to end up just staying in your groove and your rut, because I know this, right? I know this rut. I know I'm going to get it right every time because I've done it 100 billion times. But if you want to grow as a singer and you want that freedom to be able to get up on stage at an open mic and sing a musical theater song, or sing a jazz song, or sing a big pop song that you've been wanting to sing for so long, the only way you're going to be able to find those voices is to play first and take lots of time to experience this and to explore with different things that your voice can do. One of my favorite ways to describe this is that you have this 3D space around your head, right? That's kind of how I envision it. So instead of thinking, oh, I really need to learn how the mechanics work in order to make that beautiful head voice note happen, but I've never done it before, so I'm so confused, I don't know how to do it. You've made sound like that before in your life. I can almost guarantee it. So if you think, I'm just going to put this note right here and just go for it out in front of me and put that note here, I'm going to sing, ah, and then I have my head voice register. It doesn't have to be a thing that you have to figure out. There's no math behind it, right? You don't have to know what's going on in here to make sound. It's helpful to know what's going on in here if you have issues, if you have injuries. It's really helpful to know what's going on as a singer. If you're singing all the time, every day, if that's something you want to do more, it can be really helpful to know what's going on, but you don't need it. It's not necessary to make sound, right? So I just like to think of this box. Like if I'm trying to be Snow White, I'm going to be somewhere back here and light and breathy and easy and teeny little sound, right? But if I'm going to be Adele, I'm going to go right out here, and I'm going to really go for it in this direction. And I'm just playing with the different tones that these different points in this 3D box can bring up, can get out of me. The other thing to play with is the shape of what's going on inside, right? So I like to talk about this as the golden tube, right? You're just keeping that golden tube open all the time. You don't want to squeeze the tube. Just want to keep it nice and open. Of course, it's gonna close a little bit when you have different vowels, like E vowels are notorious for closing that off, but we want to, as much as we can, keep it nice and open so that that airflow has a nice place to go, right? Also, your shape of your mouth and your pharynx, which is anything above your voice box, changes the tone of a note. So again, going back to play mode, I like to call it like sandbox mode. Just give yourself some time. Take a deep breath, sing a note, try and stay on that note, but change the shape of your mouth, change vowels, change size of your pharynx. Like you can kind of close this off a little bit and open it up. So I'll give you an example. It's going to be really weird, and I'm doing this on live, but it's going to be great. So I'm just going to sing a nice ah, and then I'm going to change the shape of things, and you can see how the tone and the texture changes. So let's see. It was really weird. It was like a very sad ghost. But you see how the little teeny changes I made completely changed the tone and the texture of my voice. So I want you to play with shapes inside and play with positioning and shapes outside of your head as well. Play with the position of your body. Some people get really used to sitting when they sing and they go like this, and of course it's going to be a little tighter because your larynx is hanging in a weird way from your head, whereas if you're standing, it's a lot more natural and you can get your whole body involved and you can be singing from a whole body place instead of just from here. Even though the actual sound is starting here, if your whole body is more relaxed, you can put the holding and the energy that your body needs. Usually it wants to hold on and wants to push really hard from somewhere. So if we distract it from putting all that pushing motion here, if we bend our knees, if we put our shoulders on our back, if we imagine the sound going out in front of us, those are all ways that we can play with using your entire body to sing in different ways than you're maybe used to. So all that is to say, friggin' play around. Do different stuff. Notice when you're back in the same rut and make it a game for yourself to do something different than you usually do. I love doing that, especially when I'm trying to improvise. Like my goal is to never sing the same thing twice. Right? As a songwriter, it's really hard because there's a lot of repetition in songwriting, and if I find something I like, I hold onto it really tight. But when I'm improvising, sometimes I'll give myself the goal of like, I'm gonna make something sound different every single note. If I just went down, I'm gonna go up. If I just went up, I'm gonna go down. If I just went loud, I'm gonna go soft. If I just went breathy, I'm gonna go really pure and clean sound in front. So just mix it up. Mix it up. Play around with your voice. Even if you don't have those muscles really solid yet, that's okay. If your head voice is something that you're working on, that's going to take time to stretch out those muscles and to get your larynx to be able to make those sounds without coming all the way up into your throat and tightening everything up. So do some stretches. I always suggest like stretch your tongue, Stretch your jaw, stretch your larynx. Pretend like you're going to sing a really low note, but don't make any sound. Pretend like you're going to sing a really high note, but don't make any sound. Notice what happens in here. Notice where you feel the stretch. Just like going to the gym, you got to do some stretching. Otherwise, you're just going to become this jacked person who can't move, right? You got to stretch as you're doing workouts in your voice as well as the rest of your body. So yeah, try new things. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your same old groove. And I almost guarantee you that when you do that, you'll have more fun and you'll feel a newfound ease when you do come back to your groove, to your default. Because that's just how it works. When you expand the rest of your voice, everything, even the comfort zone that you had before, is going to feel easier, and you're going to feel like it's not a problem anymore. You're not going to feel so stuck when you can bounce around wherever you want. And that just comes from play and feeling stupid at first. So that's your homework. Go feel stupid. I always tell people when they're doing vocal warm-ups, like, if you don't feel stupid, you're not doing it right. If you're trying to get your warm-ups right, you're not doing it right. If you're trying to be on pitch every single time, it's a great goal. But when you're warming up, usually not terribly possible. That's what warm-ups are for, to warm up. The exercises, however, that is your goal, is to get it right, but without over efforting, without the over tension. So just keep an eye on that, how much pressure you're putting on warm-ups, when the detail work should be coming later on. And even then, the detail work should not be like all the work. It should not be all of your muscles just like hugging and forcing things to happen. There should not be very much forcing. There should not be any forcing when you're singing, really. That's the opposite of what we want, because it's the opposite of the freedom that you're looking for. It's the opposite of the trust that you're looking for. When you're forcing something, you can't, trust and force something at the same time, because that's just the nature of forcing, right? So stop forcing, let it be easy, let it be play, let it be stupid, have fun with it. I love y'all. Have a lovely rest of your day. New Vocal Magic stuff is coming very soon. I promise I'm working on it. I got a lot of things to happen before that happens. But if you're interested in working with me, and you know that a group program is what you need to get yourself singing in front of people in a safe space, before you go out in the world and do it in a scarier way, highly recommend it. Let me know. If you're at all curious about what that entails, I'm happy to talk to you and put you on the wait list. And then we'll have a call and we can chat about it and see if it's the right thing for you. I'm switching it up this time, so it's going to be a little more accessible. Yeah, a little less time with me solo, but it's still going to be a great thing for you to have a cohort of people that are in the same boat as you, that are just as scared as you, that are learning the same things alongside of you, even if you are in a different place than they are vocally. I think that's the best, honestly, because they might have something to offer you that you never would have thought about, and vice versa. So if you have friends that you think really need this boost over the next 6 months with their voice, send them my way. If that's you or somebody else you know, just let me know any questions you have. I'm here for you all the time. I'm going to try and start posting more. Lately, it's been just these Tuesday lives, and I apologize. So working on that. But yeah, keep your eye out for more Vocal Magic stuff. In the meantime, if this is your first time watching me, you can go to my bio and download the ebook that I created. It's called 3 Magic Tricks to Sing Better in Seconds. And it's not what you'd expect. It's going to change the way you think about singing, hopefully. So yeah, tag your friends, your singing friends. Let me know if there's a group of you that wants to join Vocal Magic together. That'd be super fun. I would love that. But yeah, that's coming in before the end of February, I will be announcing more about that. So I love you. Have a lovely rest of your day and happy singing.